October is here. Bitcoin is already pushed above last week's high, and it's looking like a major continuation market, especially for altcoins. Today's video's focus is going to be on the 5 biggest altcoins for Q4 of 2025. It's expected that this is going to be the biggest 3 months. It's always the biggest in this Q4 region, and the main focus will be for altcoins. So if you do enjoy, smash the like and subscribe. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump straight into the video. The main focus on the first coin is going to be on stablecoins. If you haven't been under a rock, you would know stablecoin growth overall in crypto has been a major driver to the overall market. Look here, just in the last 30 days, $5.6 trillion in overall transaction volume in overall stablecoins. So these are stablecoins like USDC, USDT, even we got PYUSD and all these other ones as well. So we can see month on month, it's just continuously growing. And this last month here, the highest overall growth. And with this overall growth in the stablecoin market, there's a lot of coins popping up, giving a lot of potential. This first opportunity here is going to be XPL, Plasma. Plasma is a stablecoin built on Bitcoin. It's actually backed by Tether or Peter Thiel. Overall, the thesis behind Plasma is that you can basically get exposure to the USDT chain. Paolo has only invested in one company. Plus, it's proven to be a fast mover. When we come over to the chart, we see it's literally just launched in late September, actually being an airdrop. Core team is pushed. Now, the major thesis behind XPL here is explained really well by Loopify. It's basically the closest exposure you can get to Tether. From a technical perspective, I'm extremely bullish. Actually, using the 20 exponential moving average just to get a gauge on the overall chart, we're seeing coming back into this strong support zone. Also lines up really well with some old resistance points, basically just retesting this liquidity zone. Now, once we've got this retest, price looks like we're going to get another major explosion to the upside. So right here, actually locked in some trades on XPL once we now came back to this 20 EMA. So I can move down on some shorter term time frames. What we're now waiting for is a break above this EMA, because we can see some shorter term EMAs like this 4 hour still having that negative slope. Obviously, negative slope means don't want to be taking any longs. And even if we come and use the Fibonacci retracement tool, looks like we've actually gone and broken well through my favorite 0.5 to 618 zone. So right now, heavily watching the price, but my main focus is on the longer term chart where we can really scroll out and see this old liquidity zone being retested, and also the retest of this EMAs. And when we come over and even look at Plasma specifically, overall total value locked 5.6 billion and growing every single day. So even just from yesterday, we've seen over $200 million actually enter into the market. One thing we do need to take into account is obviously this fully diluted valuation. Basically, 80% of the overall supply for XPL is still to come out. So that's one thing that could affect the chart very heavily, but that's something we also need to deep dive further into and see exactly when some. Now, Ethena is also part of that innovative stablecoin protocol, developing that new stablecoin USDe. The one thing about Ethena is its current price is really struggling to break above this overall trading range. Even this bottom end as well, really acting as a strong supportive structure. The best swing thing we can see, overall EMA now has that positive slope. So the best trade What I'm looking for is at least a swing back to this old all-time high, around a 300% gain, especially when I come in and use the Fibonacci retracement. We're right now in that pocket from the 0.5 to 618, which is my favorite. Also retesting that EMA, which is giving me confluence. So really looking for that retest back to the top of this supportive or resistive structure. You can see nearly how perfectly this lines up with the exponential moving average. We got the minus 618, also giving us confluence with these two resistive structures. So I really like when we're getting multiple confluence levels to show that there are some trading opportunities. So here on Ethena, even just in the last day, clearly seeing a massive pump. One thing again to make sure is fully diluted valuation about double. So looks like close to 50%, 45, 46% of the overall tokens. Astar potentially feels like a bit of an overcrowded trade, but I still feel like there's some massive potential. We actually saw an alert where Mr. Beast potentially bought a massive amount of Astar. It does seem like a bit of a rumor. When we actually come over on DeFi Llama and view Ethena, in a total value lock, nearly 15 billion, and we've had a massive jump since just the beginning of July now to the start of October, basically a 3x in their value locked. So these smart contracts, earning yield, staking rewards, yield distribution, I mean, proportion of their fund. You can see overall their fees and their earning. Next, we have Astar. Now, Astar does seem like a bit of an overcrowded trade at this point, but I do feel like there's a lot of potential in Astar, the decentralized exchange. Here, I was actually posting on my X account back when Astar was around $1.40, we're coming into a really strong support, and I actually took a long on this trade. When we come over and view the price, literally caught it exactly on the bottom. We took a massive upswing, nearly doubling in price, around that $2.40 range. Now we are in a bit of a decline of structure, especially a lot of people right here were expecting Astar to actually push out of this triangle. So you can see I actually made a bit of a descending triangle right here, where in this last third of the triangle is where we expect the major breakout. Now, rather than getting the breakout to the upside, looks like right now what's happened is we've got break to the downside, and even potentially using this now support but flip to a resistance, we could actually use this structure to continue that downtrend. So I'm very much watching that. Definitely expecting the overall crypto market to go massively to the upside, especially when we come over and look at Bitcoin, like I began the initial video on this weekly chart. It's looking extremely bullish, but when we do come over and look at those technicals for Astar specifically, it really isn't looking extremely bullish, especially until what we really need is this exponential moving average push to the upside. And then rather than using it like here, looks like we're going to use it as a resistance. Really, we want to be using it as support like we've seen in previous areas. Another thing, and it does seem like a common factor with a lot of these projects right now, the circulating supply, only 20% of circulating supply with Astar currently available. When we come over and look at DeFi Llama, you can actually look at all the information for Astar. See current total value locked. We're sitting around 300 million before the launch, and now it's at multiple billions of dollars. So really a great way to gauge the market for Astar is seeing that continued uptrend in total value lock. We really don't want to begin that downtrend below 2 billion value locked. That's not going to actually increase the fees. That's really going to see a decrease in fees and could see a massive decrease in price if we see all of those coupled together. Pump.fun has seen a huge explosion today, up 21%, nearly a market leader compared to all other cryptos. Overall, A lot of people are extremely bearish on Pump after this initial major launch and then a strong decline. Honestly, if you've been in crypto for a long time, you would understand that a lot of these token generation events initially end up being quite bearish because people that invested in Pump, potentially months to years ago, these early backers, they're really looking to finally cash out on that initial investment that they've done years ago, potentially, and they're making 100, 200, 1,000x on that trade. They're looking to cash out. So there is going to be a lot of volume here after that token generation event. But we all understand that Pump.fun is basically the king of the meme coin market, is basically the king of this crypto bull market in terms of exchanges, especially for the meme coin market. So catching it at these lows, once we began to see this uptrend of higher high, higher low, higher high, actually making an overall higher low in this initial wave, and now push way above its old all-time high, making a 500-600% gain from the lows. Now, my most favorite to use, the Fibonacci retracement. Looks like we've come into the favorite zone, 0.5 to 618. But not only that, when we scroll in and see the overall exponential moving average, positive slope means we look for longs. And now we're looking for a long on Pump. Now we come over and see again, total value locked over 300 million. And especially in these last few days, coming into the end of September, we saw a bit of a dip. But now in these last few days, a strong uptrend, now pushing into October. And obviously, one of the biggest narratives behind why Pump.fun came back and done so well was because of these live streams. We're seeing a lot of creators, a lot more opportunity to come out and stream these live coins, add a lot of value, actually do something funny. Seen quite a few creators come out here, even Roberto, which is one that I like to watch on YouTube. He's quite funny. We even saw him come out and create his own meme coin. So just brings a lot more attention to the platform, a lot more attention to the coin, and a lot more attention to overall meme coins. And we never want to forget scrolling out and seeing the overall Solana market. So Solana still clearly dominating the overall meme coin market, nearly 12 billion in total value locked. The stablecoin market is looking very, very healthy. Massive amount of chain fees. Again, sort of hitting back on and where all the fees are going. Amount of fees is going back to Pump.fun, and that's really our main focus there. And we can see even some other platforms really holding strong too. The last altcoin for today's video is Uranus. Now, this coin, if you've been on Twitter, a lot of people have been eyeing off this coin. It's a really small market cap, actually only 23 million current market cap. But overall, it looks like on the chart, it could be setting up for another major bull push. Now, we initially had, very similar to what I showed, we had this symmetrical triangle where we had the breakout in the last third. And you can see we have support, support, support. And once we got this breakdown of the supportive structure, what do we then use as resistance? Right through here, we then use this area as resistance. And we even see for a confluence level, this exponential moving average with a negative slope is then being used as resistance every time we come back to the average price. Strong sells off, back to the average price, a massive amount of selling. But right here, we move down to a shorter term time frame. Looks like we're now coiling up at the perfect zone. Now what we're looking for is strong higher highs. We need another major higher high and another continuation above this move, because then, especially on the daily, we would then get that confirmation and confluence by a positive slope on the EMA. What we would really look for is price to come above this high. Then we'd have a small rejection where the rejection would come back to the overall average price to EMA. That would be where we'd look for a stronger long-term entry before we have that another major continuation to the upside, way above the old all-time high. We would have around $1 at our resistive level, but that would be something that would come later on as we actually be able to hold the project. But that would actually only put it at around $100 million valuation. And you've seen with some of these past projects, they're hitting multi-billion dollar valuations, multi-billion dollars in total value locked. So this is really one of the smaller cap projects that could have some potential. But also not only that, as I'm always pointing out, I love these old resistive structures. Continuously through here, we had a strong resistance. And where is price now retesting this old resistance, flipping as a support? A lot of people think and make trading harder than it needs to be. A lot of the times, the best thing to do is sit on your hands, wait for price to enter levels that you understand and know is high probabilistic trading areas. And then you take a trade. Again, you sit on your hands because I'm expecting the next 2 to 3 months to be extremely bullish. So rather than looking to just scalp out 5% and then maybe trade another 3% here and 5% there, I'm looking to make 5, 6, 700%, 1,000% gains on these trades over the next few months. Not worried about small 2, 5, even 10% moves. I'm looking for multiple X's on my money here. If you have enjoyed today's video on my favorite 5 altcoins for Q4 of 2025, smash the like and subscribe. Leave a comment and let me know the type of videos you want to see. If you have enjoyed today, I'll see you in the next one.